What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the vlog. We got some stuff to talk about because my life has been changed and I can't wait to tell you about it. I learned today, I was today years old when I found out that my school has. Okay, so I go to college, obviously. That's not important. But what is important is how we manage our assignments. There's a website, they call it Blackboard. You can upload your assignments, read the book, go everything that has to do with your classes is through the Blackboard portal website. I was just informed today that there's an app. There's an app for this. I was joking in my class to my people around me. I was like, if there's an app I wish there was an app. I wish Blackboard had an app so you could get notifications saying a test was graded or like you got feedback on an assignment, so I don't have to go into the browser and check and waste your time by checking and seeing if something's been posted and it's not being posted. You just waste your time. That's why I wish we had an app. And someone's like, there is. I was like, you're kidding me. And he showed me, and sure enough, I tried it myself. I've only had it for like 5 minutes, but my life has been changed because I wish I knew about this 2 years ago. This would have changed my life sooner. And I'm just really happy to have it, and I'll tell more people about this because the more you know. Second of all, this week I was in a bit of a scare yesterday because I tried starting my car and it wouldn't want to start. And scared me to death because I had to be at my internship in 20 minutes. And if my car didn't end up starting, we would have had a different day. I'll just put it to you that way. And I prayed. Yes, I'm religious. I prayed that the great Lord above would start my car. And I opened the hood. I kind of jiggled like the little cables attached to the battery. And because usually my car will not start or have trouble starting in the winter because it gets cold, obviously, and the engine might be cold. So that's usually the issue. But not this time. I talked to somebody and they say it might be with like the little wire or like the spark plugs, and if they get wet, they can get like rust or mold or something that prevents it. When I go back home, I'm gonna get it looked at because I don't need that scare in my life, and I'm just thankful after jiggling those little not wires, the little cables, it started. So yeah, there's that for you. Next, we have probably the biggest thing ever, and I lost power on Sunday. Last Sunday at 4:16 in the morning. I know the exact time because they made a point to remind me every single time. You lost power, blah blah blah. Time of restoration is blah blah blah. Well, don't listen to that last part because they kept changing it. Originally they're like, yeah, we'll get your power fixed at 6 o'clock and at like 6 a.m. So like in 2 hours. And I was like, yeah, whatever, because I've had this happen before and they're so unreliable. Then they said 8:45 and I was like, here we go again. Then they said 11. I was like, oh gosh. Then it was moved to 2. Then it was moved to 4:45, and then from that point, it wasn't even 4:45 at that point. It was like 3, and then they're like, yeah, 11:45 at night. So Zach is terrified, and it's not so much that I don't have power. It's I'm concerned about my groceries because now that I am an adult and have to pay for my own groceries, I don't want to have to go out and buy more. So yeah, I didn't open my fridge or my freezer because I really was thirsty, but I did find some water that I had in the closet. So if the world ever ends, I still have a bunker shelter that has water in it, in case you didn't know. Uh, and so I never opened the fridge or freezer. And power came back on at 10:17 at night, so it was before their estimation. I wasn't even thinking they could get it back at 11:45. I was like, I was fully prepared to sleep without a fan on. That's the big part. Without sleeping without a fan is absolutely atrocious. I need noise. So when I lost power at 4:18, I mean half the night was already over. It was gonna get light in about 2.5 hours anyway. So I opened my window, and thank goodness it's cooling out because last time this happened to me, it was summer going into, well, I guess at the same time, but it was August, so it was still hot out, and lost power. I don't know when this happened, but I'm pretty sure I slept once without electricity. I could be wrong, or it could just be the whole entire day. But progressively it'll get warmer in your place, especially if it's hot out. But thank goodness it was like 55 out, because I opened my windows and was like, this is fine. But I was just concerned about the groceries. And another thing that sucks is I had to shower in the dark, and the water was lukewarm. It was almost to the point where I wouldn't be comfortable showering. I had to shave in the dark. Of course, I did have the flashlight on my phone, but it didn't. It can only do so much. But the worst part is when it starts to become nighttime, you don't have the daylight to see stuff. So I don't have it with me right now. I put it away, but I found a lantern that my dad gave me. It's battery powered, that I could have some light. And it got pretty bright, but it doesn't replace the obvious light. So if you get anything out of this video, don't take electricity for granted, because because without it, things are a lot harder. We really forget about this. And my groceries are fine. Thank you for asking. I didn't lose any groceries. The milk, on a scale of 1 to 10 of coldness, like, I love my milk cold and drinks cold in general, but I give it about a 7. It was still pretty darn good considering the power was out for 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, about 18 hours, about like that. So, yeah, pretty but good. Another part of that whole day was I was like, well, I can't really use anything to make me some food. So, and I had an Uncrustable in my freezer, but I didn't want to open it. I was like, if the power's not on by 3, and this was like 1 o'clock talking, I was like, I'm just gonna go out and get some food, fast food. I went to Wendy's, which is right by my apartment. They were closed because the whole area didn't have power. McDonald's was closed, Arby's was closed. So I was like, let's go to Bob Evans, which is in the opposite direction. They had power, and I got food. So that was a week at a glance. Oh, lastly, this isn't really important, but I want to mention this to let off a little steam. This might take longer, but I don't care. I had an exam on Tuesday at my astronomy lab class, not the lecture time, and it was awful. I went into that exam prepared, because the teacher's like, yeah, the exam will be very similar to the review sheet, and you're allowed to use 1 page of notes. I almost copied that entire review sheet onto that paper and added some extra stuff that I felt was necessary. And I only looked at that review sheet twice during the exam. That's how awful it was. And it's one thing for being upset with like how the exam went, but the fact that the majority, because I have a group text with my astronomy buddies, they all agree that that exam was, pardon my French, effed. The whole exam was effed. And that really just killed my mood, because I was like, wow, you really gaslight us. I don't know if the professor made the exam themselves or the head of the astronomy department just gives out the same exam every time. I don't know if that's true. But all I can say is that professor better curve it, because you're going to see a pattern that probably the smartest kid in the class, probably the smartest kid in my lecture class who got 100 on the midterm, which a lot of us didn't do too hot on. Like I said, the class average was 64%. He got 100 on it. And he said the lab exam was hard and awful. So that just tells you how bad it went. So thank you guys for watching. I'll have more updates next week. Hopefully they're good updates. And I'll be reflecting on, well, Halloween is coming up, and I haven't watched a single horror movie this month. I am a disappointment. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll have updates for you next week.